Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Scouting 5, recapping scouting news from around the world for the week of August 8th, 2022. I'm Scouter Ken, and this week I'm recording from St. Albert, Alberta, and my goodness, it's probably not going to be like a Scouting 5, maybe like a Scouting 15 or a Scouting 20, because I can't even remember the last time I did one of these episodes. I know I missed all of June. I'm pretty sure I missed most of July. Now we're in August. It's just been... Well, I mean, Scouter Colin and I talked a little bit about it on the last full episode of the podcast, but I'm really only now sort of clawing back some control over extracurriculars and things that I do outside of working and sleeping and whatnot. So I apologize for the complete and utter lack of news, and I'm going to try and recap a variety of different stories, apart from the ones that we covered in the last episode, that have been, on my radar for a little while now. And apologies for the gap in production and the gap in episode releases. Hopefully, I can get things back on track from here forwards. Now, I have a few different stories from Scout.org to lead off with, but I'd be remiss if I didn't actually mention first and foremost that Scout.org itself underwent a significant design change at the beginning of August. They launched a new and improved website, I guess the result of like a year-long development process to redesign and reshape all of their content so that it was a better experience overall for everyone coming to the site. And totally agree. I've used Scout.org for many news stories, but browsing the site has always been a bit of a challenge. So it was really, really cool to actually click over to Scout.org a couple of days ago to round up news stories again and see, wow, they redesigned this. It's much more mobile friendly. It's a much cleaner look overall. So really, really great job to the web design team at Scout.org. Thank you so much for the redesign, and looking forward to reading many more articles from the site. And with that in mind, the first story from Scout.org today is in regard to scouts in Vietnam installing solar lights for their communities. Quoting, as noted, Scout.org. What an inspiring way to camp. Young members of Pathfinder Scouts Vietnam, PSV, had lots of learning and fun at the Better World Camp 2022, held in Dalat Lam Dong on the 1st to 3rd of July. Scouts from all over Vietnam learned mainly about Scouting's educational initiatives, how to effectively communicate projects, especially in attaining the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The camp included 14 sessions, both online and offline, with various content such as project planning, management and sponsorship, financial management, and especially design thinking and Scrum project management, a whole new content stream from experts in the field of startups and technology. During the camp, the participants not only learned, but called for financial contributions from leaders and scouts across the country to sponsor and install 8 solar lights for disadvantaged Kaho ethnic families in the Bidup National Park region. Inspired by Scouts Go Solar, this journey will not only light up the lives of the local people, but will also light up how the young Vietnamese scouts can make a real impact on their communities with their abilities. And moving over to India, we see the Scouting Messengers of Peace doing a little bit of work with none other than the Dalai Lama, again quoting Scout.org. For Amar Chetri, a lifelong scout and national coordinator of the Bharat Scouts and Guides Messengers of Peace initiative, meeting His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, and sharing the impacts of Scouting's peace-building efforts was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The moment came to be alongside the National Rover Ranger Carnival, which recently took place in Himachal Pradesh, a state in the northern part of India where the Dalai Lama has lived since 1959. During the visit, on behalf of Scouting across India and around the world, Amar presented the Dalai Lama with a blue Messengers of Peace scarf. The scarf is often symbolically bestowed to a scout, volunteer, or professional scout who has shown great commitment and outstanding service towards building peace, an honor befitting His Holiness, who has been a champion and advocate for global peace, compassion, and dialogue throughout his extraordinary life. And that article was dated the 21st of July, which means that the Dalai Lama received his neckerchief, his scarf, just in time to take part in Scout Scarf Day, international event for scouts that also happens to fall on August 1st. Quoting the Wangnui Chronicle, August 1st was World Scout Scarf Day 2022, during which active and former scouts are encouraged to wear a part of their uniform to commemorate scouting. Former scout leader Bill Charnock, of the Wangnui Chronicle front desk fame, chose to wear a scarf from the 2007 Centenary World Scout Jamboree. My gosh, I have that same scarf, actually, which was held at Highlands Park in Chelmsford, Essex, the UK. He says the 12-day event attracted 40,000 scouting personnel from around the world. Bill was on staff at the event, working in one of the 16 subcamps. Funny, I was also on staff at that event. It's been a while since we've mentioned anything to do with the Ukraine war, but there I just got the podcast banned in Russia, probably again. That's okay. Romanian scouts this time have evidently been stepping up to offer relief and support to refugees from Ukraine, quoting Scout.org. As families fled the escalating violence in Ukraine, young scouts like 25-year-old Raluca were among the first responders at the borders of neighboring countries, offering urgent support like food, accommodation, and access to information to help arriving families as they sought refuge. It was late February. Hundreds of Ukrainian families started to cross Romanian borders, leaving their homes and lives behind to embark on an uncertain journey. Being longtime scouts, Raluca and her friend Mihaela were prepared to be of service at any moment, and they knew they needed to mobilize immediately. It was 9 p.m. on the 26th of February when both scouts got in their car and drove 3 hours to Romania's northern border to lend a helping hand. The situation at the border was dire. Mostly women and children were arriving that night, carrying few belongings, clearly exhausted and distressed mentally and emotionally. Raluca and Mihaela started to ask around if anyone needed a ride somewhere, but it was late at night and they could sense the fear and shock among the refugees. Raluca and her friend decided it would be best to come back in the morning fully equipped with a strategy and a larger team. The following morning, Raluca and her scout group were in full operation at the border. Made up mainly of young volunteers working together efficiently, delivering some supplies, but mainly focused on transporting refugees to different cities in Romania and facilitating safe accommodation, including developing a network of people who opened their homes to hosting families. The Scouts' motto is, be prepared, and as Scouts, Raluca and her team took charge, making sure to cover every need that might arise. Their second day at the border, the team managed to help 12 Ukrainians, and the following day, 40. Eventually, she and her team assisted some 340 refugees, some with their pets, to reach safety and access critical information and services they needed in Romania. So well done, Raluca, and the rest of your scout group. Good job. And jumping over to Kenya. A Kenyan scout has been supporting teens through pregnancy and with the challenges of motherhood, quoting, one last time, Scout.org. Kenyan scout Ivy Aki is helping to build a brighter future for the country's growing number of pregnant teenagers, empowering them with an entrepreneurial skill set and network to address gaps in access to social, health, and financial support. As public services stopped or slowed over 3 months of nationwide lockdowns at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 150,000 teenage girls became pregnant, roughly a 40% increase in monthly averages. Determined to help, Ivy launched Ginkgo Africa in Kibera, the poorest district in the capital of Nairobi, in May of 2021. Ginkgo supports and teaches women and girls aged 13 to 19, many without family support, in finishing their education and starting businesses to create better lives for themselves and their children. A scout since the age of 6, Ivy has honed a diverse set of valuable life skills from teamwork and problem solving to critical thinking and creativity that she hopes to pass on to others through Ginkgo. Through the program, women and girls gain a support network that encourages socialization and learning together to improve physical and mental health. Crucially, they are also taught to make various products, including notebooks and soap, as well as how to sell them to generate an income. The next step, according to Ivy, is to teach them how to run and maintain a business. While some may opt to sell unique handmade products, others can use their entrepreneurial skills to turn their personal passions into careers, such as beauticians, chefs, and more. In June of 2022, Ivy shared the exciting news with 8 young mothers that after just 1 month of business, their group had sold nearly enough products to cover a semester of school fees. While their unexpected pregnancies could have seen them drop out of school completely, the program and network at Ginkgo made it possible for them to stay in school. And this wasn't Ivy's first successful cohort at Ginkgo, and it won't be her last. Through the organization, she has empowered 72 pregnant teens and teenage mothers with 206 hours of training in just 1 year. So far, over 2,000 people have benefited from Ginkgo's programs, including students at 6 schools, where they've been provided education to mitigate the prevalence and effects of teen pregnancy in Kenya. Up here in Canada, some interesting, potentially unfortunate news regarding the decorative feature outside of Scouts Canada's national headquarters in Ottawa. Quoting CTV News. It's been standing tall on Baseline Road in Ottawa's West End for more than 60 years. With the color fading from Ottawa's harsh climate, the totem pole in front of the Scouts Canada building needs to make way for a proposed development. The Scouts Canada National Headquarters on Baseline Road is the site for 3 proposed high-rise towers. If approved, the proposed development would become home to 952 residential units, according to the submitted proposal. With the shift to remote work, a move to online retail, and the transformation of the neighborhood surrounding the Ottawa office, Scouts Canada has identified an opportunity to seek out a partner to redevelop or purchase the National Service Centre at 1345 Baseline Road. They intend to remain in Ottawa and are looking to prioritize program space for youth members, which could also provide space for staff and volunteers to collaborate. The totem pole has been along Baseline Road since 1961. According to Scouts Canada, it was a gift from the British Columbia government to celebrate the newly opened headquarters. Designed and created by Kwajalein chief and world-renowned Northeast Coast carver, Chief Mungo Martin, and his grandson, Henry Hunt. It has become a well-known landmark in the Ottawa area and has been designated a heritage landmark by the City of Ottawa. The development, along with a proposed rapid bus route corridor along Baseline Road, would mean the totem pole would need to move. This actually comes as a bit of a surprise to me. I actually hadn't heard that the national office had been completely shut down and was, possibly going to be sold off. I mean, I know that's happened to, say, the scouting offices here in Edmonton, but I didn't realize that it was also happening at the national level. Though, I guess, really, there isn't anything that they do there that couldn't be done remotely, and they have largely moved all the Scout Shop stuff to online sales. So, interesting development. Evidently, the proposal to redevelop the land is, still going through the approvals process. Nothing is set in stone yet. And hopefully they can find something to do with the totem pole, whether that's move it somewhere or put it in a museum, I don't know, as opposed to just, knock it down. But interesting developments here in Canada. Meanwhile, over in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Scouts have been partnering with a forest products company to plant trees, quoting TBS Newswatch. A little bit of rain is perfect for planting young saplings. However, the persistent drizzle is not appreciated by about 30 Thunder Bay Scouts who teamed up with employees from Resolute Forest Products Woodlands operations to plant 600 trees on Resolute's private land. The project is part of the Scout Tree Program, which has involved thousands of Beaver Scouts, Cub Scouts, and Venture Scouts across Canada since 1972. Resolute provided the seedlings and appropriate safety equipment for each participant, while organization volunteers were on hand to answer any questions from the Scouts about forest management and regeneration. Resolute maintains that all harvested areas must be regenerated, with forest regeneration an essential component of responsible and sustainable forest management. Statistics show that less than half of 1% of Canada's boreal forest is harvested each year, which is significantly less than what is destroyed annually by natural causes, including forest fires, insects, and disease. Scouts Canada members were also evidently surveyed recently on what they thought were some of the best camping destinations in the country. And evidently, they chose Jasper National Park as Canada's, quote, most epic camping destination. Quoting the Fitzhugh Jasper. If you're looking for the country's best camping, Scouts Canada says you don't have to look far. A survey of more than 46,000 of its volunteers, youth, and parents resulted in a 39.5% vote in favor of Jasper National Park as the most epic camp destination in Canada. The second spot on the list was Pacific Rim National Park Reserve on Vancouver Island, which garnered 34.6% of the vote. Ontario's Algonquin Provincial Park came in third with 32.9%, followed by Grossmoor National Park in Newfoundland and Labrador with 27.3%, and 22.5% for Fundy National Park in New Brunswick. Jasper's top status was further enhanced by the fact that it came in at only second on the list of where survey respondents had actually camped. Algonquin was first in that list with 42.9%, while Jasper registered just 32.6%. The survey was prepared as camping increasingly has become the most viable vacation option for summer 2022, the release indicated. It also explored some of the reasoning behind what people are looking for in order to find the best campsite for any level or type of adventure. As for what makes a campsite the most ideal, the scouting community responded that getting a view worthy of a screensaver was overwhelmingly the most important criteria at nearly 85%, and Jasper certainly does have some absolutely amazing mountain vistas to take in with your eyes. This was followed by proximity to water at 63.9%, activity options available, such as fishing, paddling, hiking, biking, etc. at 57%, wildlife at 39.3%, absolute quiet at 39.3%, and the availability of washrooms at a mere 26.4%. And if you haven't been to Jasper National Park, seriously, do go sometime. It's very like Banff National Park, if you're familiar with Banff National Park, except much more rustic, much less touristy. And again, just an absolutely beautiful stretch of land to take in and see. Very mountainous. There's lots of hiking, multi-night hikes. You can hike up to glaciers. You can hike above the tree line on mountainsides. It's just epic, like the vote says. Another setback in the ongoing abuse case against the Boy Scouts of America and their plans to deal with that financially. Evidently, there has been a ruling made that threatens approximately $250 million, which could potentially have been allocated to the settlement. Quoting BNN Bloomberg, the Boy Scouts of America may be forced to cut $250 million from its proposal to set up a trust fund for abuse victims after a judge rejected a key provision of the deal the youth group had signed with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. The complex ruling by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court Judge Laurie Silverstein forces the Boy Scouts to return to the bargaining table with some of the groups funding the $2.7 billion fund, including the religious group known colloquially as the Mormon Church. Silverstein handed the Boy Scouts a partial victory Friday when she rejected arguments that a settlement with abuse survivors was not negotiated in good faith. The judge did not give final approval to the proposed trust fund plan, however. Instead, she rejected a number of key provisions. One example is Silverstein's refusal to grant the church a so-called third-party release that would have given the church broad legal protections from all abuse claims, not just those involving the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts would also need to change the complex rules governing how much each abuse victim would collect under the plan because of Silverstein's decision. The judge sided with holdout insurance companies led by American International Group Incorporated when she refused to declare the rules, known as trust distribution procedures, fair and equitable. I remember when I was a kid, one of the models that I built was that of a PT boat, a patrol torpedo boat run by the U.S. Navy during the Second World War. And in particular, it was PT-109, if I remember correctly, which, again, if memory serves, was John F. Kennedy's PT boat, ill-fated PT boat. That's right, John F. Kennedy served in World War II. He was a Navy guy. And his PT boat was sunk just off of the Solomon Islands. And, well, it just so happens that his daughter, very recently, was able to thank personally the scouts, two of the scouts at any rate, who helped save the future President Kennedy's life after the sinking of PT-109, quoting the Solomon Star. The selfless service and sacrifice of the Solomon Scouts and Coast Watchers were acknowledged during the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Guadalcanal. U.S. Ambassador to Australia and daughter of John F. Kennedy made this statement during the dawn service at Skyline Ridge on Sunday, the 7th of August. Because of the selfless service and sacrifice of the Solomon Scouts and Coast Watchers, the Allies were able to hold Guadalcanal. And because of Guadalcanal, the Allies achieved victory in the Pacific. She also took the opportunity to thank two Solomon Islander scouts, Byakugasa and Eroni Kumana, who saved her father's life. While we all owe a debt of gratitude to the Solomon Islanders who risked their lives during the Pacific Campaign, my family and I owe a personal debt of gratitude to two Solomon Islander scouts who saved my father's life. Thanks to them, he and his crew survived the sinking of PT-109 and were able to return home, and he was eventually able to run for president. She said her father's experiences on Guadalcanal made him the man and leader that he was, just as the experiences of so many others shaped the men and women they would become. Ambassador Kennedy, for her part, is part of the U.S. delegation led by Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman in the Solomon Islands to honor those who fought during the Battle of Guadalcanal, which was one of the pivotal battles of the Second World War, in the Pacific Theater, at any rate. Now here's an interesting collaboration: the Tunisian Scouts and the Tunisian National Olympic Committee. Quoting Inside the Games, the Tunisian National Olympic Committee is set to collaborate with the Tunisian Scouts after a draft agreement was approved by the Olympic Committee Board. Under the proposal, the committee and Tunisian Scouts would work together to educate young people on Olympic values. Upcoming multi-sport events were also a topic of focus at the board meeting, chaired by President Marez Boussaïd. A dedicated committee is due to be established to plan a roadmap for the Paris 2024 Olympics. It will be tasked with overseeing technical, logistical, and medical aspects of Tunisia's preparations to ensure athletes are in the best position to attend. Tunisia won 2 medals at Tokyo in 2020, a silver in Taekwondo and a gold in men's 400-meter freestyle swimming. Coming back to the discussion of properties, it seems that a scout camp in Massachusetts was recently forced to close. Quoting WWLP News, a Boy Scouts camp that's been a local refuge for decades just sold to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for $1.4 million. Camp Cachalot in Carver, Massachusetts has served as a home away from home for Boy Scouts throughout southeastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island since the 1940s. The actual property transfer was signed in March of 1946, and the camp just completed its 75th anniversary celebration last year. But now the lights are off at the dining hall and the windows are shuttered as the camp has officially closed as of May 31st. Mid-May was the final weekend Boy Scout troops could camp for a weekend, some groups doing just that. The property is being sold as part of a bill that the local council, all local councils, are getting as a result of the ongoing abuse allegations and the settlement claims that are going to have to be paid out as a result of that. And that is all the news I have for you this week. So thank you again for listening, and until next time, be prepared.